What if the life you're longing for isn't actually hidden? What if you're just learning how to see it? Over the last few weeks, we've been talking about living on purpose, slowing down enough to notice our lives again, and about the practice of vision, and about the practice of joy. I had the chance recently to sit down with my dear friend, Dr. Rashmi Schramm, on her podcast, Inner Peace and Power. And as we were talking, I realized this conversation fits so beautifully into what we've been exploring together here on Solving for Joy. And so I wanted to share it with you. Without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Dr. Rashmi Schramm on Inner Peace and Power.
Hello, dear listener, dear friend. Welcome back to Inner Peace and Power. We have got such an incredible episode for you. That is because our guest today is my friend, Dr. Chrissie Ott. I'm going to tell you a tiny bit about her, and she's going to share her story and her wisdom and so many things. So Dr. Chrissie Ott is a double board certified internist and pediatrician, aka superior to the family physician training that I did. She has a passion. Just saying, Chrissie. She has a passion for integrative medicine and coaching. And she is, of course, a certified coach. She does all the things in terms of podcasting, and she's an incredible leader in the physician coaching space. I can't wait for this conversation. Welcome to Inner Peace and Power, Dr. Chrissie Ott.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rashmi Schramm. It is a pleasure to be with you, my dear friend.
Yes.
For your sweet words. And no, it is not superior. It is different.
I am half joking about it, and I think that would have been preferable so that I would not have to do OB. I've voiced my concern about family physicians doing OB multiple times on this podcast. We don't need to go back into it. Okay, let's get into the real reason we're here, which is for us to have this beautiful conversation and the wisdom that you have, which, I have been privy to for many years. Would you share your story with us?
My gosh, it would be an honor. I mean, there's so many aspects of this story. I think one of the first things I'll say is that I was inspired by this piece of writing when I was just out of my first year of med school. I shared it last week on a Substack, and it's this framed picture that's on my wall right now that says, I want to inspire and be inspired. I want to choose my roles rather than have them be assigned. And it goes on. It's basically a statement. Marianne Rodmacher wrote it about what she wants for herself. And I resonated with that so hard. I thought I was a rule breaker. But what's really true is that I just require agency. I require creativity and agency and challenge to be joyful in my own life. And so what that looked like, I was a very young massage therapist. I was a professional dancer. I was a Pilates instructor. And then came school. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to be a nutritionist. And then along the way, I got swept into medicine. Anyway, coming to medicine from that background, I was like, this place needs some wellness, y'all. This is not okay. We're toxic. And so in comes working in well-being for first medical students, residents, physicians. And, trace that little thread all the way through to becoming a chief wellness officer and becoming certified as a coach. And I'm like, these are my people. This is where all of the things make sense together. But somewhere along the line, I did this entrepreneurial thing for 8 years where I had a solo micro practice. I love integrative medicine. I, early certified, and back when we had the American Board of Holistic Medicine. And so I was like, I want to practice my way at my pace. I don't want to be told how fast the treadmill of the clinic runs. And I really want this to be relationship centered. That is so important to me. So ironic how in med school, they would tell us about all of the humanistic medicine things, right? The psychosocial history. And then funny, now you get to see 40 people a day. And that was just lip service because the true value is actually capitalism. Anyway, I digress. That's an encapsulated version of this little story, but it's been a wild adventure. And each one of these stops has created a new facet through which I can serve the people that I serve, which brings me so much joy.
That is incredible. This reminds me of that Zen saying that says, "Dear traveler, there is no path. The path is made by walking." That's what's coming to mind when you describe your journey, is you are still walking that path.
Yes. If the path is clear, you may be on someone else's.
Even better.
That was something I came across sometime in this past year and reshared on some social media platform. But I was like, that feels true.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's been and you mentioned the word joy. I want to talk about that a little bit more. I want to really dig into it and what that means for you and how you define joy. And as we do that, I'm also curious how you've given yourself permission for said joy.
Well, as you know, joy is my through line. It's kind of like a thing that has over time continued to disclose itself to me on deeper inner levels, on secret levels, on outer levels too. So my podcast is Solving for Joy. My company is Joy Point Solutions. Like it is in my blood. And I first came to realize joy was important as a teenager when my best friend's mom did my animal totems, and my inner animal is the hummingbird, which is very sacred medicine. I mean, everybody who loves a hummingbird understands without further explanation.
Yeah.
And their medicine is about joy. And so over time, joy has actually disclosed itself to me as meaning, alignment, and delight. And for me, my mission is actually to be of joyful service. So it's not just, yay, we're having a great time. And joy is not the absence of suffering. It's really the integration and the incorporation of that, because of course life brings things that we prefer and things that we don't prefer. And as we mature, we understand that on deeper and deeper levels. But holding a vision of meaning, alignment, and delight for yourself and your life is a really helpful way of getting there.
It's incredible. So maybe, did you need to give yourself permission for it? Were you ever conditioned out of it?
I was. I mean, I was a dancer, right? So there's a lot of joy in movement for me. So there were like acceptable forms of joy and less acceptable forms of joy, like following rules. Everybody was like, awesome, you're such a good girl. And then departing onto my own path, we were like, wait a second. You're moving in with your boyfriend at 18? Hold on. You're not going to college right after high school? All of these things. Like I am following my path. It's weird. It's unpredictable, but I understand it as mine. And here we are. We trust, right? We hold a vision. This is one of the things that's really up for me, is thinking about how vision is an integral part of the practice of joy, the aware, intentional practice of joy. It doesn't mean that we decide where we're going and we just get there plowing through whatever. It means actually we have an idea from within, like in our vertical axis, we have some idea that maybe landed in our hearts or our minds, and we pursue it with openness, understanding that it's going to get clearer as we get closer, that we actually have to have these faith-filled steps of like trusting vision before we fully even understand it.
Yes, that feels very important in the time that we're living right now.
Yeah, one step at a time, one aligned step at a time.
Yes. And I think it's really magical how you said it continues to disclose itself to you. So it's more of a discovery rather than an invention, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes. It's like peeling back layers to find what's underneath. And you're getting closer because it feels more and more resonant, more and more like yes in your body. More and more synchronicities arise. Not that everything is easy, but ease does arrive.
Beautiful. Yeah.
The part that's hard feels like growth instead of struggle.
Right. Yeah. And one that maybe we're unfamiliar with in that moment. So if someone's listening, Chrissie, and they're like, yeah, great. Good for you, Chrissie. You have this great independent spirit. But, like I did go to college, which was me. I had a very straight and narrow path, right? Even though I had this sort of like rebel inside of me, it was sort of like, yeah, you get to be quiet right now. Not that it's rebellious not to go to college. In that moment, it would have been college, med school, were all in a straight arrow line, residency, and if I had to go back and look, it turned out exactly how it's supposed to turn out. And yet, if somebody's listening and and they're finding like, is there's a gap between where they are and how you're expressing it, what would you say to that person?
First, accept, like without judgment, trust, there's reasons, and then start to measure what is the distance between where I am and where I feel resonance is waiting for me. And what is one tiny step I can make in that direction?
Yeah.
If you feel locked in, what is one thing that you can do to remind yourself that this is not all that's true? There is no should, right? The opposite of one profound truth is often another profound truth.
That's right. That's right. And that's reminding me of those ideas of like far enemies and near enemies. That's often there, that if you just like can keep going in the circle, you'll come back to the same place.
Yes, like excessive compliance with expectations is its own thing. Excessive rebellion from expectations is also problematic. Like, where is your resonance and what is your discernment about that? How does that serve a vision that makes sense to you on a spiritual and somatic level?
Beautiful. Beautiful. We've come into that word vision or visioning a little bit. I wonder if you'd say more about it from a like a mind body spiritual perspective.
When I trained for my coaching certification, I trained with Martha Beck's Wayfinder program. And one of the tools that Martha Beck talks about in her books, as well as in this program, is the body compass. And I loved how plainly that was described in this training. It opens the door for us to feel the yes or the no in our body. And of course, we have this amazing, nervous system in our gut. We call our gut instinct, or, our intuition that feels like it's in our abdomen. And tuning into that regularly and realizing, oh, I do have access to information. It's a different way of knowing. It's a way my brain's not driving, but there's resonance there, right? So I think getting used to listening, which requires a little bit of quiet time or just a little bit of practice to be like, oh yeah, where's that frequency? Can I feel that in my body? Is that a yes in my body or no in my body? It might be as simple as like, do you want spaghetti tonight? No, I want salad, chicken. Like the body speaks.
Yeah, yeah. So it's going back to that innate intelligence, and that sort of reminded me of the chakra system, where, the seat of personal power is at the solar plexus there, and that is where, the gut is, and that's of course where the vagus nerve is, most splayed out, and none of that is accidental in terms of ancient wisdom meets modern science meets, this amalgam of like, can we tune into the body compass? And that language sometimes resonates more with us than saying like the chakra system or something like that. And so I love how you have created enough space and safety in your system to where you can have a quiet space, which first of all, that can feel unsafe for some people who are listening right now. Right. And so, and as you mentioned, just little bits at a time. Like we don't need to go 180 degrees in any direction. That's not even, it's not possible, and it's not sustainable. And so to just little tiny bits, which could just be that question of like, what do I want for dinner? Do I want this? Do I want that? Like that could be a fun experiment somebody could start to run.
It's really fun. And to practice a really clear no, as well as what is my yes. I had a little flashback just then about when I decided to pursue coach training. It's like I was sort of struck by it, and it came up from my body, and it was like, I do not understand, but this is imperative. I do not know what waits on the other side of this training or what I will do with this training. At the time, I had no idea what I would do with that training, but I knew that it was a building block to some bridge to somewhere. I was like, okay, here we go. Seems weird, but here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Your brain was catching up to your heart.
That's a beautiful way of saying it. That's right. Yes, my brain was catching up to my heart and to my body's knowing. Absolutely. This vision statement from 2007 basically leapt into my hand.
Okay.
I have not seen it for quite some time, but it just really wanted to be included today. So I want to share it with you, please, and our listeners. It's a vision statement that I wrote while on a retreat before. It was literally like the exact time that I was starting my own solo micro practice. So this is a vision that has to do with that time. Vision statement. In honoring my role, an essential piece of the sacred whole, I accept authentically and with piercing clarity my identity as healer. I collaborate with ease and compassion through my life's work in the healing arts. I receive gratefully the support of my community, a diverse and beautiful tribe of peace-loving folks, animals, elements, spirits, and plants. I walk courageously in integrity, awarely modeling an adventurous and successful new way, weaving joyful work into serious play. I sacrifice nothing to follow my passion. It serves me most to serve in this fashion. Respect is a given, serenity calms, growth is natural, love hath no qualms.
Whoa. Wow. So that was you in 2007. Could it also be very true in this very moment?
I think it is a truth. Yeah. I think it is just like, yeah, that's medicine for me. I didn't realize how much overlap there is from, the me 19 years ago to this work that's totally different and was absolutely not visible back to vision. I could not see it. It was around several corners,
Right.
but the resonance is consistent.
Mm.
There is meaning, alignment, and delight that is consistent. And even, joyful work into serious play. I just loved playing with that. But I used to have this vision statement, right in front of my desk so that I could look at it all the time and remember, like, not just a cog in a wheel.
Talk about capitalism being kind of angry with you.
Yeah.
Feeling very unsupported. Capitalism feels very unsupported by you.
That's right.
But ultimately, though, that vision, that path has led you to this magical moment, and you're doing a lot of magical things right now. I'm watching from a pretty close vantage point, always in awe of the work that you're doing. I wonder if you talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you're doing right now.
That's very honoring. I feel the same way, Rashmi, about the work you do in the world. You are my sister, and I admire and honor just so much. One of the things that's super delightful and meaningful to me is being of service for the last couple of years to the Physician Coaching Summit. Kathy Steppen founded this back in 2019, and I had the honor of being passed the reins 2 years ago. So I am gearing up to organize, I am organizing, it's pretty organized, the second Physician Coaching Summit under my directorship. So we are doing that in November. I am so happy that you will be there and be leading some fun work. I met you because of the Physician Coaching Summit in 2022. So just the full circle of tending the fire of this space for our community is such a high honor. I feel like it's a way to amplify the ripple of incredible work that physician coaches do in a really special group. Out of that grew the Physician Coaching Collective, which is a, small, medium-sized group. We have 3 calls a month, and it's like integrated entrepreneurial support. So we are operating on spiritual and high-level frequencies and very tactical frequencies at the same time. So how do we market ourselves as people who want to stay in alignment with our deepest calling and values without feeling that we are mimicking a different way that feels, let's just say, not resonant, that doesn't honor the work that we're doing? We're not selling ShamWows, right? So we need to use some different words and tactics when we call people in to say, hello, I am available to work with you. There is love here. There's wisdom here. I would love to share that with you in a high frequency way.
Right. That makes sense. It's an integrated system.
So those are fun things. Yeah, I'm gearing up to create a new container for coaching clients. I coach also burned out physicians in the MD Can Help program. And gosh, I just, there's so many things that I love doing. And maybe I do a little bit too many of them. That's my tendency as a hummingbird, but I'm not displeased.
It is incredible. And so, if I may share, when you said the hummingbird thing in Ayurveda, those three kind of main kind of constitutions, if you will, the Vata constitution. Yeah. Yeah. So, like, it's more predominant as the hummingbird. And you probably know this about yourself. And there's a lot of creativity and there's just a lot of joy within that system. And it can also just overdo. I have a lot of Vata in me as well. And so it's like, how do you find that middle path? And that's been your quest, right? Like, I love all the things. I'm multi-passionate, I'm multi-capable. I'm also capable of burning out. I'm also capable of overcommitting. And that's the lesson I feel, right? Is like honoring our needs and the needs of others, being of joyful service, of sometimes joyful sacrifice as well. If we're really being honest about it, like, is the sacrifice feeling joyful for you, or does it feel more just like simple?
Right.
Yeah. You can be doing the same thing, but have a different energy to it. And I'm noticing your energies very intentionally pointing towards rediscovering and finding joy, which has a multitude of, sort of subtext to it, of course. But that is a compass that I think we would all be wise to follow.
It is a compass. I love thinking of joy as a compass, like follow the delight. Well, unless it's, super unhealthy for you. Something came up as you were saying that. So just last night, my wife and I were having a conversation. I suspect that my employed work is, let's just say, could be changing in the next year or so. And I have a different feeling about it. I feel like so much trust, even though that's where my benefits come from, even though that's where like the, largest chunk of my income comes from, because I have created collateral circulation and this sort of like many different ways of being. I'm just curious. I was actually like, I don't feel fear. I feel the unsteadiness of the possibility of this work going away, even in a way that would hurt my feelings, even in a way that would not feel affirming to me. If it goes away, I actually know I'm still supported. Everything will be fine. I'm curious about what next, like what plot twist next is going to happen. And so I'm just like enjoying that instead of feeling paralyzed by it. I don't have to know. I can just know that I will know when the time is right.
That's a lot of self-trust, Chrissie.
Well, I think it's probably not all self-trust. It's partly just like universe trust too.
Yeah.
But we're not separate. Like I'm part of the universe.
So self-trust is trust in the universe. Yeah. Yeah. That's so great. And the universe is always giving us different little clues. Like, I have a friend that calls it breadcrumbs, spiritual breadcrumbs. And they're just so delightful when we pick one up. But like that, whatever that knowing was for you, like that was just like, oh, hey, like you've got this, like whatever's around the corner, you've got this.
Yes. Good fortune, bad fortune, who knows?
Yeah.
I feel released in some ways. I feel like,
yes.
This has been a really wonderful 10-year adventure.
Yes.
And I accept its closure.
Oof. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Okay, so can I share? This is the most random thing that happened in the last like 24 hours, but I feel like I have to share this. This is such a random thing. So this week I have the great delight of hanging out and caring for my really young niece and nephew. My kids are grown. They're out. I haven't seen them for a while. I'll see them soon, but and one of the things that we were talking about, because my niece, she's 11, she climbed up on top of this very large structure and she was like, I'm stuck. There's no way I'm coming out. Or she was like, I can't come down. And so we had this whole conversation, and it wasn't like me teaching, but it was a conversation about, that Henry Ford quote about like, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And so we worked through it. And of course she plopped right back down. She was fine. And then my nephew brought it up in the car. We were just chatting about different instances. And, there was like this, like the little engine that thought he could. And like, it was like this really, really marvelous little fun conversation that the three of us had. And then we went to the Ripley's, believe it or not, just a few hours after that. And one of the things that my nephew wanted was the Zoltar thing. And I was like, it requires a quarter. Like, who carries a quarter? I don't have a quarter. And some very nice man was like, here, I have a quarter. And he gave it to us. So he puts it in, and you know what the wisdom that came out of that was, whether you think you can or you can't, you are right. And Zoltar is saying this. No way.
Whoa.
Right. Like those, I think that's something from the universe. Like, hey, like keep going on this thing, like just be open to what's here. And it's true for us too, whether we think we can or we can't. It's true. Like, it's true.
I love that synchronicity. I was reading in Meg Tierney's writing this week. Meg is Andrea Gibson's spouse. She wrote about this strange series of synchronicities around the story and around the song, Kermit the Frog's song. What is it about rainbows? How does that song go?
I didn't grow up in this United States.
It is a Kermit the Frog.
I'm aware of Kermit the Frog.
About rainbows. And it came up in like 5 different completely unrelated ways in a short period of time. And one of the messages that she's sharing right now is how many messages Andrea is sending from the and it just gave me so many chills and reminds me of how magical the places that we live when we are open to receiving those magical messages. I've been talking about this a little bit lately, but I used to never ever see feathers on my walks. And now this is just from the last 2 weeks.
Whoa, that's so dear listener, she's holding up. How many feathers would you say there are?
Not the hawk one is not from this 2 weeks, but all of these crow feathers. I mean, there's a bunch of little ones in there too. There's probably 20.
There's 20 feathers that we're talking about here. Say more.
Well, I started to open up to the possibility that I have some witchiness in me, and I read a book about it, and the book mentioned finding feathers, and it opened the channel in my mind to noticing. And maybe these things have always been there, but suddenly there were 3 different feathers on a single walk. And sometimes it just felt like they were there for me.
Yes.
And so I began to receive them as gifts and say, thank you. Thank you. I accept this. I don't know what I will do with these feathers, but I do know I'm supposed to pick them up and pay attention.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that's indigenous wisdom too, to a certain degree. When Mother Nature, the natural world, is communicating with us, it does so, and sometimes it has to repeat itself so that it becomes really clear.
Very obvious.
Very obvious. Like when that hawk dives in front of you for the 3rd time on your morning walk, you're like, hold on, I'm paying attention.
Yes. I posted this little video on Instagram last week because there was a crow loudly following me for blocks.
Yeah.
He would fly from power line to power line, always just a little bit behind me and cawing the whole time. I don't know if he was angry. I don't know if it was
you done did him wrong.
I don't know what I did. He was like, I did not mean for you to get that feather. And he would give the damn feather. I don't need that feather. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a little bit of vision too, right? Opening your vision to include things that you did not notice before.
Yes. And you said something earlier, which I think I'm going to call back to, which is that we do have to be willing to slow down to notice. And that's a contract within ourselves. Is it okay to slow down? Is it safe to do so?
Even the hummingbird has to land sometimes.
It does. Yeah. Incredible. Well, Chrissie, you've been so generous with us in sharing so much of your story, so much of your wisdom. I always like to ask this question of lightness of being. We have certain intentions in the lineage of meditation that I've studied, and every morning we have certain intentions that we plant, or seeds, if you will. And one of them is lightness of being. It doesn't mean that we ignore darkness or, challenging times. It's a yes and it's a practice. And it's probably akin to your practice of joy. But what are your practices for lightness of being?
I practice meditation, and I practice it imperfectly, as most of us do.
Yes.
So I like to include that in case anybody has a tendency to project onto others that they do something right. And I practice meditation imperfectly. And I understand it as communion with myself and with higher beings. And it's a time for insights to land. It's a time for things to make sense. It's a time for inspiration to arise. And it's a time to reflect on my own intentions for my life, for my family. Sometimes it's just a walk. Sometimes it's lying on my back sometimes it's, seated in a formal position on the cushion. I really love insight timers, encouragement for me because I can see my streak and it makes me want to do something every day to keep going. But yeah, I think just time listening inwardly is what I do the most to support myself with that.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And absolutely, meditation is an imperfect practice, lest someone think that it needs to be perfect for it to count for anything. It must be imperfect because we are imperfect as humans. This has been so delightful. Is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't, or anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I think that this has been a super wonderful conversation, Rashmi. I love you so much. I am so
Same.
grateful for your light in the world.
Same. Right back to you. I receive it and I give it right back to you. And so, dear listener, you're going to want to find Chrissie if you're not familiar with her. We're going to have all of her information in the show notes, and you can run, don't walk to download her podcast. It is really, really wonderful. And I can't wait to see you on the next episode of Inner Peace and Power. I will have a very, very, very beautiful episode for you next time.
Thank you for listening today. I hope that you enjoyed that conversation as much as we did. One of the things I keep coming back to is this idea that clarity isn't always something we find. It's something we uncover, not by pushing harder or having a perfect plan, but often just by creating enough space to notice what has been true all along. If there's one thing I can invite you to take with you this week, it's this. Instead of asking, what's my next step? Ask what's already feeling true. You don't have to figure it out today. Just notice what you're beginning to see, what's emerging. I'm so grateful to Rashmi for having me as a guest on Inner Peace and Power and allowing me to share this conversation with all of you. Her podcast is a wonderful find. I highly recommend subscribing to both hers and ours, and share it with someone you care about or want to have a conversation with. We'd love to see your reviews. We read every single one. It fuels our passion for this work. Until next time, trust what feels deeply true, and may your vision continue to unfold one gentle step at a time. And may you keep solving for joy.